And we are down at the Mill downtown. Later post is YouTube.
Councilmember Daughtry. Hold on really quick. I'm hearing at the. Are we still muted? Okay. Councilmember Tadgett, can you hear us? Just want to do a sound check. Anya, Barb, anybody hear us?
I can hear you now. We can hear you now.
Barb?
Yeah.
Also in charge.
Anya, Barb, can you hear?
Yep, I can hear you now.
You. All right, Councilmember Daughtry. Councilmember Peter Shagan.
Present.
Councilmember
Present.
Dickinson. Present. Councilmember Jorstad. Present. Councilmember Ewing.
Present.
Councilmember Tadgett. Councilmember Tadgett, can you hear us? He's unmuted. I see his video, but not him.
Okay, but you see him on video.
I see him on video.
All right. Let's go ahead and text him or something, make sure he's got good comms. Okay, so with that, let's get an approval of the agenda. And I think, Council President, that we are going to forego item 5. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
Everyone should have an agenda in front of them. There's a comment you appreciate that. Comment about foregoing item 5. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve tonight's agenda with the minus item 5.
Second.
Motion a second. Any comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right, great. Thanks, Council President. So with that, we'll move into citizens' comments, and how we do citizens' comments is we give 3 minutes for any citizen to provide comments to the council, and we can do that both for those online as well as those in person. We usually ask you to fill out a green sheet if you are in person to give citizens' comments. Let's first take a look online. Is there anybody who wishes to provide citizens' comments tonight? If so, please raise your digital hand.
Mayor, we have no attendees.
Nobody's online?
Nobody's online.
All right, that makes it easy. Anybody present who would like to provide citizens' comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move forward with council business. Council President.
Thank you. Let's start at the end of the row with Councilman Ewing.
Nothing tonight.
Councilman Dickinson.
Thank you. I attended the Youth Advisory Council last Thursday night right here. Me and 26 teenagers. I slept well that night, I can tell you. They made 187 cards to be sent to kids who are hospitalized for whatever their health issue. It was a beautiful evening and I had as much fun as they did, I swear. I'm so grateful for that opportunity. And also last night, the Youth Advisory Council met last night just to start working on some of their business, and it was good to see them again. So then also seemed to be about the kids the last week for some reason. Lake Stevens School District meeting last Wednesday for the swearing in of the new Student Advisory Council. It was uplifting. It was at Skyline Elementary. My favorite school board meetings occur at the schools. So that was all great. Thank you. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Council Donahue.
Yes, thank you. So I attended my first Department of Emergency Management meeting today. They introduced a new director, Lucia Schmidt. There was a brief overview of the 2022 annual report, and then a ton of things that I will have to get up to speed on very quickly, but it was very informative, very eye-opening. And then also, I did have a quick question, or I wanted to clarify something regarding STR comments that were to be sent in by council to Clerk Chellan. Will those be consolidated and sent back out to the council members for review, or is that something we should kind of get on the same page about amongst ourselves and then send in to you?
That's something I'll need to gather, but.
Okay, and
Thank you. Turn on my mic. My understanding was we would take the comments in whatever form they were provided and then send them along to the planning commission. But I think we might revisit the direction of that, the next step after we see what comments are received.
okay, then I guess at this time, would it be possible to request that those comments also be distributed back out amongst the council so we could see kind of where everybody's at and just get a
Yeah,
feel for
that's
it?
totally fine.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thanks. Councilman Peter second.
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, I got one thing, well, a couple things. Youth Advisory Council last night, where the Youth Advisory Council is starting on their articles of incorporation, if they're, because I think they're going to go for a 501c3, which is kind of important for them. The other thing is I attended SKIT this morning before it started snowing. That was kind of fun. And the main gist of that is talking about Snohomish County's priorities for transportation projects in light of what the governor has put out for his budget for transportation this time. The two obviously don't align. He's putting off quite a few projects that are very important to Snohomish County. And so we're putting together another go around to go down to the legislators and tell them why it's important to do the priority projects, even though we know we're not going to get them all. But we're letting them know what our priorities are. They've asked for that, and we're consolidating all that from the county level, and all of the cities have put in their stuff. The Highway 9204 project will continue to go on. That's in the governor's budget, and the only reason probably is because it was already started. A lot of the things that were started will continue, and only a couple of projects that have barely started are not going to continue. One of the things, if you happen to want to weigh in on it, is the 531 project up in Arlington is a very important project to the region with the Cascade area up there. $1.2 billion of investments have been made up there by 21 different corporations. And we had promised, the county had promised that we would get 531 widened, and that has now been put off another 2 years. So if you happen to want to talk to your legislators about transportation projects, mention 531 as being something that's very important to the region, not just to the state, but mostly to the Snohomish County, Lake Stevens, Arlington, Granite Falls. We all are going to benefit from that. That's all I have.
Thank you. I just want to take a moment to publicly thank council members Donahue and Tagent for joining me in the polar plunge on Sunday. The three of us jumped in the water. Ryan actually jumped off the dock into the water. Marcus and I decided to wade in, but my understanding was there were over $7,000 raised, and it was a great community event. It was great to see folks, and just appreciate our fellow council members pitching in. So thank you. That's all I have.
I did see the police chief, though, splashing in the water in his uniform, it looked like. So don't discount that.
That is true. There were our police chief. It's a great police law enforcement representation, but I think our chief was the most exuberant for sure.
All right, great stuff. Appreciate it, council. Appreciate all the work that's going on. I would like to commend a council member, Councilmember Kim Daughtry. He has been recognized with the Association of Washington Cities does a certificate of municipal leadership. And there's two levels of it. There is the certificate of municipal leadership, and then there's the advanced certificate of municipal leadership. And Councilmember Daughtry has achieved the advanced certificate of municipal leadership. And just a little bit about it. For that level, you need to achieve 60 credits. So I think maybe 60 hours worth of training. in various subjects to include diversity, equity, inclusion, roles, responsibilities, and legal requirements, public sector resource management, community planning and development, and effective local leadership. And Kim is actually an overachiever and has 72 hours instead of the needed 60. So congratulations, that's a big feat. It's a goal, a lofty goal, and good job, Kim. Speaking of education, I had a great privilege last week to get a tour of the Career and Technology Education Department at our Lake Stevens School District. That was Director Dan Tudor, gave me a tour of the high school, North Lake Middle School, and Lake Stevens, as well as Caballero, and showed me the various courses that they provide for our students in technology and engineering and culinary and just the career area. And it's impressive. And I'm not just saying that. From culinary students who go compete at a state level to DECA students, DECA programs who compete at a national level, to our robotic team that competes at a national level. It's really impressive. And apparently we have like an 8th grader who's one of the top Microsoft Office knowers in the country. Was not even on my radar in 8th grade, Microsoft Office. I don't even think it was invented and yet, but just very, very impressive program of and really provides an opportunity for students who may not be in a traditional track to be able to excel with what they want to do in life. So I just applaud that program. It was a lot of fun to go and see the kids and see what they're doing. So with that, I would ask Carrie Holder to meet me in the middle here. And I would like to read a proclamation. This is a proclamation honoring the memory of Kathy Holder, and I'll just read through it and it'll explain what this is. Whereas Kathy Holder, who lived in and served our community, passed away after a long battle with cancer. And whereas Kathy Holder established her commitment to civic service by volunteering as a park board member from February 2006 to February 2007. And whereas Kathy Holder was a city council member from February 2007 to December 2017, sharing her passion for community safety, parks, and economic development. And whereas Kathy Holder joined the Lake Stevens School District in 2005 as a paraeducator, began substitute teaching in 2009, and became a continuing teacher in 2013 at Glenwood before transitioning to the newly opened Stevens Creek Elementary. And whereas Kathy Holder worked hard to help create what we now call Stevens Creek Elementary through exemplary professionalism, a commitment to ensuring student success, and being a true team player. And whereas it is important to honor civic engagement and dedicated efforts of those who have served their community, and whereas we as a community will mourn with the family and continue the great work of Kathy Holder. Now therefore, I, Kurt Gehling, Mayor of the City of Lake Stevens, on behalf of the Lake Stevens City Council and staff, honor the life contributions of Kathy Holder. Thank you, appreciate it. And this is, if you knew Kathy, she was a military soldier officer, and so was her husband. So I would like to present to you a small token of our appreciation, which is a mayor's coin for the city of Lake Stevens. Thank you very much. If you'd like to say a words, go ahead.
The city meant a lot to Kathy. And thank you. Thank you, Angie, for reaching out. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Thank you.
If you don't mind, I'd just like to say something.
I would love to hear some words.
Kathy got me involved in this. I got to serve with her for 7 years on the council. And she was part of the reason I got involved in the first place. And she's going to be missed.
Mary, go ahead.
The fact that Kathy was an educator and also she was an amazing human being. I know if Mark and Pam Summers could be here, they would be here because they told me about her when I was out doorbelling, and sure enough, I doorbelled her house and I got to meet her and talk with her, and she blew me away. She was a great part of our community. I'm very grateful that I got to meet her. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Anybody else? All right, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
With that, let's move to city department reports. Melissa.
Thank you. So this evening in the department reports, the city is embarking on our very first climate mitigation plan. And this is exciting for the city. It's also going to be a fairly quick process in that it started in January of this year. We kicked it off and we will be ending this in the end of June. The city received a grant for around $80,000 from the Department of Commerce to undertake this work. We've hired a consultant, Cascadia Consulting Group, to undertake this work. And right now, the city is looking at draft mitigation measures. Staff is reviewing that. We're also sharing that with the Planning Commission tomorrow evening. And we'll be bringing this to City Council on March 14th for your review and your input and feedback on the measures. Thank you.
Great. And Aaron.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We've prepared the 2022 Public Works Annual Report. It's in your packet, and I'd like to just briefly summarize the accomplishments of the Public Works Department. This year, the Public Works Department focused on improving its level of service to the community by improving professionalism, proactively maintaining infrastructure, planning for capital projects, filling vacant positions with highly qualified staff, and improving relationships with other agencies and departments. We're proud to report that the public roads, stormwater system, and facilities are in better condition in 2022 and 2023 now than they were in 2021 because of the department's dedicated, qualified, and safety-minded employees. While we confidently report that our successes, we maintain our focus on setting the standard for public works in the region by pursuing future opportunities for improvement. Next year, the department's focus will be on implementation of the geospatial asset management system. I know that's a lot of words. What that means is we know where our assets are, signs, striping, stormwater pipes, where they are and when they were last maintained. Pursuing the American Public Works Association accreditation, which creates a more professional department, and constructing capital projects to improve the lives and safety of our residents and visitors. There are more than 20 capital projects planned to begin this year. So get ready for a busy construction season this summer and next summer. Okay, I'll give you just a few items from each division of Public Works. The administration launched the 24-month Public Works accreditation process in 2022. And they also implemented a safety training program for public works, field crews, and administrative staff. Engineering developed a 20-year and 6-year capital improvement plan, capital facilities plan. They replaced 14 ADA ramps, sidewalk ramps, and collaborated with the school district to improve roadway safety near schools, including the recent Sunnycrest Elementary walkway project, which I think has been a success. Surface water and stormwater. We inventoried all public and private stormwater facilities for the first time in more than a decade. So we know what we have and we know the condition of it. We didn't know that before. That's huge. We cleaned 4,200 catch basins. In 2021, we cleaned 50. So it's a market improvement. And 27 detention facilities, 34 ponds. Streets and facilities completed more than 1,000 work orders. That's kind of where they live. They're very busy. And those work orders included, for example, replacing or installing 600 plus signs. If you think we have a lot of signs on the roads, we do. There's no question. They also mowed 486 miles of road shoulder and installed 565 feet of thermoplastic. Thermoplastic is those crosswalk bars and stop bars. I know we need to do it again, and we'll keep chasing it. Fleet entered into an agreement with Enterprise for leasing light duty vehicles. That's going to save the city money year over year, and we're going to have a newer and safer fleet. And they also, I don't know if you know this, they also maintained 88 vehicles. We have 88 vehicles or pieces of equipment in Public Works. I'm not talking about mowers. I'm talking about things people can drive or tow. I'm incredibly impressed with what we accomplished in 2022. I'm really looking forward to 2023. Thank you.
Hey, Aaron, can you? I know, but can you give a little bit of history on the sidewalk repair due to the root damage? You got the picture in your report. Can you explain a little bit to the council what we're doing there and why?
Yeah, so on the third page of that report, you'll see a photograph of, or an image of a recent sidewalk repair project. And this is in the Catherine Creek neighborhood. And they have beautiful maple trees along the road there. If you've been through there, if you haven't, make sure you try to get out there in the fall. But you know, when you have beautiful maple trees, they tend to have roots that want to grow out to at the outside of the limbs of the tree. And they have done that. And they heaved the sidewalk really terribly in this area. And so our crew went out really ambitious. Let's go get these sidewalk panels removed. We'll cut some of the roots and get it poured back. Those roots were more like trees. They were 6 to 8 inches in diameter and just not what we expected. And we brought an arborist out and they said, yeah, if you really cut through all those, you've compromised the tree. Just remove the tree. I wasn't necessarily comfortable doing that. I think that neighborhood is, and I would propose that I think that some of them might agree. That neighborhood is defined by its street trees. So I wasn't eager to go cut these trees down. So we found an alternative product, and it's in the photo. It's actually it's a flexible paving product, and it's more expensive than concrete. But what it will do is maintain a safe walking surface for a longer period and move with the roots, essentially. And it's a pilot project, but I'm eager to preserve the trees. I think Public Works is eager to preserve the street trees and use this elsewhere.
Yeah, I appreciate you being innovative on that. It's no one wants to take down trees, especially those pretty ones that are out there. And we'll see how this product works and see if we can get another decade out of those trees before we might have to revisit it. So, yeah.
You said it costs a little bit more money.
Oh, I'd be happy to give you the information, but it's like 125%. So it's.
Thank you.
It's more, but it's not breaking the bank.
Does that calculate in the cost for taking down and replacing the trees?
No.
So you might be cutting even by then?
Yeah, I think we're ahead with this.
Okay.
Approach. Removing the trees is $15,000 to $20,000. Just
yeah,
right out of the gate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions for Aaron? All right, good report, Aaron. Appreciate it.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
So what is the plan for maintaining the vegetation along the roadways and that the city has sometimes maintained over the years? London Parkway, and so you mentioned 480 miles. I know it's council had asked for a maintenance plan for those areas. And we were told that would happen. So I don't see that on the report. I know the Parks Department said they're working on theirs. So where is the Parks Department or the Public Works on that?
Yeah, Lundin Parkway is an interesting case. We are working on a maintenance plan for that. And I
Or
would-
20th Street too. I mean, those are
Yeah.
South Lake Stevens. I mean,
It's-
there's a few.
it's certainly not alone. Yeah. We're working on a maintenance plan for that. So I'll have more on that in the next few months.
Any other questions for Aaron? All right, great. Appreciate it, Aaron. Let's move to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to pass the consent agenda?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to pass the consent agenda with one correction.
Not happening to not
Okay. Good.
There was a note on citizens' comments that Gary O'Reilly spoke about the lack of lighting at Crosswater. It's Gary O'Reilly. And so I just wanted to recognize that change so we know who that person is.
Okay,
I'd also like to point out that Bruce Morton is in the audience for his appointment to the Planning Commission.
so was there a motion there?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the correction of the name to Gary O'Reilly
Second,
under citizens' comments.
I don't have a discussion. I just have a comment. I just want to thank Morton. So for those that know, he's just had an extensive involvement in the community over many years, over a lot of different topics. And so I think his appointment to the Planning Commission is especially important for his efforts over many years. And so I think he's going to be a great addition.
Bruce, can you raise your hand so I know who you are? Thank you. Thanks, Bruce. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
All right, motion and second. We had a little discussion. Any other? All those in favor, say aye. Any-
Aye.
Thank you, Marcus.
All right, great. Thank you. We weren't planning on this tonight, right? Was that gonna be at another meeting or at the planning commission meeting, probably? Okay. Okay, great. All right, let's move forward to public hearing. And we've got, we're looking at a shoreline master update with Russ Wright.
Okay, Russ Wright, Community Development Director. Thank you, Council. Tonight, we're going to have the public hearing for the Shoreline Master Program update. This is something that we started last year and had to push it over into this year to complete. But it's a very simple update to the Shoreline Master Program. In 2021, the city had formed a task force to look at infill development and where that was appropriate. And coming out of that meeting, there was also a waterfront task force that was created to look at that topic, in particular infill development as it applied to the waterfront. What came out of that group was a desire, because of environmental issues and a variety of other things, to keep the shoreline areas predominantly single family and to allow duplexes, but not to allow more dense development. And since there were inconsistencies between the city's adopted zoning code and the shoreline code, there was the recommendation that we do these updates. So what you see in front of you are just housekeeping updates, again, for consistency between our zoning code and our shoreline master program, to remove the references to multifamily housing. And it also corrects the citation for the adopted critical areas ordinance. So all very minor stuff. And that's really all I have to add, other than it's gone through the public process with the Planning Commission. There was a joint process with the Department of Ecology, and we've not received any comments from citizens or agencies throughout this process. So after council hears from any public tonight, looking for an action from the council to approve this. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Now, Russ, I do have a question on in the packet. We start on page 81. But we're missing paragraphs 1 through 3. We have 3C, but nothing before that. At least I'm assuming it's 3C.
On page 81, you have exhibit A, so you're
81's exhibit A, and then 82, it starts at management policies, I believe is 3C.
yeah, let me look back at the index. So your attachment 1 is your ordinance. And within the ordinance, there should be just exhibit A, which is all inclusive of the changed pages.
Just
So we
change
didn't
pages.
give you the entire document because we didn't think you wanted 100 pages
Okay,
with no strike through. So
that makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions for us?
I have a question, but you may not have an answer, and that's fine. Maybe it's something that we could look into and just get some feedback about. I know there's legislation currently around multifamily zoning that would impact the state of Washington. Do you have any sense whether or not that legislation would impact this ordinance? Given the area that it refers to?
it may, the prior legislation and some of the legislation under review provide a menu of options to satisfy missing housing for the state. So yet to see what the final bills develop out to, but it does have the potential that it could have some effects. But it's also trying to redefine through that legislation what is considered single family as far as it relates to the building code. So
Okay.
there might be some changes in the future.
So more to come. This potentially. Thanks.
Any other questions for us? All right, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor for public comments on just this subject. Just the subject of the Shoreline Master Program update. With that, I'll look for online comments. If there's anyone for comments? No one? I'm sorry?
No green sheets.
What did you say? Oh, green sheets. Got to get that hearing aid back, the VA. And is there anybody else in the audience who would like to provide comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comments on this portion of the hearing. And do you have any further comments, Russ?
I don't. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions of Russ? All right, with that, I'll open it up for discussion deliberation by the council. If there's any. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and we will look for a action by the council on this.
I'll move to approve ordinance 1156, amending the Lake Stevens Shoreline Master Program.
You have a motion, a second, either Mary or Steve, whichever one you want. You drowned it out, Mary. Okay, great. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thanks, Marcus. And so we'll move forward to the next public hearing, which is going to be the Sherlock rezone. And that was Melissa. I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Melissa Place, Senior Planner with the city. This evening, for your consideration, we have the Sherlock rezone request. This is a request for a one parcel that's off of roughly SR 92 and the Callow Road area. And it's a roughly 0.88 acres, so a little less than an acre. This is a closed record public hearing. Next, please. It's a closed record public hearing, which means that it's your recommendation, or sorry, your decision would be based off of the actual record in front of you. That record consists right now of the city staff report, exhibits A, which is the draft ordinance, and exhibit B, which is the hearing examiner recommendation to the city council. Next. Little information about this rezone. So the property owner and the applicant are one and the same. It is Julie Sherlock. Her address is just an undeveloped parcel off of Callow Road, but it does have the auditor's parcel number listed here. That is the southwest corner of that intersection here in Lake Stevens. As I mentioned earlier, the property size is 0.88 acres, one parcel. And at this time, it's just the rezone request. There's no proposed development action concurrent with the rezone request. Next. This is a map and an aerial showing where the property is. It's outlined in yellow. It is that southwest corner. As you can see, the Highway 92 is the highlighted yellow to the north, and Callow Road is on the east side. Next. A little bit about the process. This application was received back in August of last year, and the application and the hearing were both publicly noticed. We held a public meeting on October 27th of last year. We had no attendees at that public meeting other than city staff and the applicant. A rezone is a type 4 permit with a hearing examiner recommendation to city council, and ultimately city council, you make the final decision on this. The rezone was determined exempt from SEPA, which is the State Environmental Policy Act, due to its WAC citation that I've listed here in the slide, land use decisions. And then we also held a public hearing before the hearing examiner, and that was an open record public hearing. And that was on December 15th, 2022. The comp plan designation for this property is medium density residential. There's no change proposed to this at all. The current zoning for it is R4, and the request is to rezone it to R8 to 12. Per the city's municipal code 14.36-I, the proposed zoning district is compatible with that MDR, which is the medium density land use designation. And in the next slide, we've got the comprehensive plan land use designation map. So you can see the subject property up there next to 92 in Callow Corner is the light yellow, and that is their medium density residential. And you can see the properties to the west and the south are all designated the same. Next, this shows the existing zoning versus the proposed zoning. Same thing here. You can see that the subject property is the only property in that area that is zoned this R4, this light yellow, and everything to the south and the west is already rezoned or is zoned, sorry, to R8 to 12. And then in the proposed zoning, you can see that that would be colored in the R8 to 12 orange color and be consistent with what is to the west and the south already. Next, please. A little bit of background. So the maximum density for R4 under our code is 6 dwelling units per acre. The max density under R8 to 12 is 12 dwelling units per acre. Just to the west of this property, there is a category 4 wetland, and there's one type F stream, which is a fish bearing stream, Lundin Creek. Those are both present off the property, but portions of their buffers would extend onto this property on the very western corner. That would be reviewed under the future land use development application at that time. So the city's critical areas code and the slopes code, and it would apply to that at the time of actual plat application. With this rezone application, we did ask for a traffic impact analysis, and of that, the resulted that there's roughly 29 new PM peak hour trips under the R8 to 12. That would ultimately be an increase of 3 vehicular trips over what's existing in the R4 zone. So the city looked at that and ultimately determined that is fairly negligible amount of trips. It's not going to impact the intersections that are adjacent to it. And as I mentioned earlier in the public meeting, we didn't receive any comments. We've also not received any public comments by the city on this rezone proposal at this time, nothing written or oral in both the public meeting or in writing an email to the staff. So at this point, no public comments. So these are the decision criteria for a site-specific rezone. The first one is that the rezone conforms to the comprehensive plan, that it's in compliance with the Growth Management Act, that it advances the public health and safety and welfare, that it's consistent with a need to plan for additional residential property based on growth targets, that there's adequate area to develop the property per the standards and the proposed zoning districts, that it's not materially detrimental, that there's adequate infrastructure to serve the site, that environmental impacts can be mitigated, and that the amendment complies with the rezoning regulations in our municipal code. Ultimately, the findings and conclusions are that this particular rezone is consistent with a comprehensive plan that does meet the intent of the proposed zoning district. As conditioned, it would meet the rezoning decision criteria. As conditioned, it will meet the city standards, excuse me, at the time of development. And that this project also met procedural requirements as required under the city's code. So at this time, we're recommending the hearing examiner is recommending to the council adoption of ordinance number 1158, following consideration of the hearing examiner recommendation and the project record that's attached in the staff report and to the agenda today. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have at this time. Thank you.
Before council questions, since this is a quite judicial matter, we might be throwing a master plan. We should address the appearance of fairness issues. This hearing, this public hearing, your decision is supposed to is required by law to be fair, not only as a matter of fact, but it should appear fair to a reasonable person. So there are a few questions that you ask. First is, has any council member had any communication regarding this rezone application? The member of the public or the applicant running opposed to the rezone? Okay, there's that. Is there any council member who believes they have a conflict of interest or any concerns whether or not the appearance of fairness starting to be violated by your participation in this decision? Anyway.
Can we make sure Councilman Paget is hearing these questions also?
I am hearing it and I don't have any conflict so far.
Right. And then the third question, is there anyone in the audience who desires to challenge the participation, any council members' participation in the decision on its rezone application? Okay, hearing no response, we're finished with that.
All right. It was very lawyer-esque. I like it. Do we have any council or questions for Melissa?
I just want to say that I have traveled down there and it really concerns me, the topography there, but we're challenged with topography everywhere. And I have great trust in this being done correctly. And Melissa really answered all my questions. So yes, the water does flow into the lake that is nearby, and we need to pay attention to that, and I know we will. And let's see what else. Anything else I wanted to say? No, that's it. All good. But thank you very much for listening to me. Appreciate it.
All right. Any other questions for Melissa? Seeing none, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor for public comments on just this subject, which is the Sherlock rezone. Is there any comments online?
No comments.
Great pronunciation, Clerk Challen.
And no green sheets.
Okay. Is there anybody in the public here that would like to provide comments on this subject? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close public comments. Any further comments, Melissa?
Don't have anything at this time. Thank you.
Okay, great work on this as usual. And any further questions by the council? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and open up for any discussion or deliberation by the city council. Seeing none, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and I'll ask for an action by the council.
Move to approve ordinance number 1158 more concerning the Sherlock rezone.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, great. So at this point on our agenda, we do not have any action items or discussion items. We're going to move into an executive session. And it's going to be on discussion of real estate with no action to follow. And how we do executive sessions is we go ahead and clear the room and it's just the city council in here. There's no action to follow. So you can stay and come back in, but all you'll hear when you come back in is the word adjourn. And then we will be done. So that's up to you.
Okay, so this is property acquisition RPW 4231.01 B 10 minutes.
10 minutes. And thank you everyone for coming. If you don't come back in.
Yeah.
While everybody's leaving, I just want to remind folks to respond to Caitlin or Kelly in her absence regarding the DC plan for in May. Getting sent out an email just asking who would be interested. Okay, great.
The council has requested additional 10 minutes, 6:55, we'll be back at 7:01, or 7:00. Okay, we're gonna. I just. Wait, he's cool. No, he's not, but. I think he's probably a good reader. I mean.
Are we back in? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Who's
Oh.
first? Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.